Good evening. My name is Colin Montoya, and today I'm going to be giving a speech on how parents should not actually allow their children to have a cell phone before they're in 8th grade. So, we all know that phones and tablets are competing for our time and energy at like every moment of the day now. But how aware are we actually of how much of the youth in our communities are starting to get sucked into these time wasters and in the process losing their self esteem, ambition, and their lust for life? Well, the rise of smartphones has revolutionized communication and access to information, but it has also introduced significant risks, especially for young children. A report from the American Academy of Pediatrics highlights concerns over screen time and its effects on children's health and development. I'm sure that many of you either grew up while phones were barely starting to take over our social lives, or you may have little siblings or cousins right now who are always just glued to their iPad. At the very least, you'll probably plan on having children one day. And as the internet only gets more popular, it'll certainly be a problem, and you'll have to address it with your future sons and daughters. So, I personally think that being exposed to certain content on the internet can ruin a young teen's development through a multitude of ways, and I'll be trying to convince you of that in this essay. So, my main points will be discussing negative impacts of early cell phone usage on child development, the lack of regulation and parental controls contributing to these problems, and then practical solutions for reducing these risks for your children. I'll begin by examining developmental changes posed by early cell phone usage. Children who use cell phones excessively are much more likely to experience anxiety, depression, and poor self esteem, according to a study which was published in the journal JAMA Pediatrics. Increased screen time often correlates with a heightened risk of mental health issues. So, for example, cyberbullying and exposure to unrealistic portrayals of bodies on social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram can often lead to feelings of inadequacy and even social anxiety. And of course, teens are already at an age where they're very susceptible to this. Excessive screen time can also impair attention span and critical thinking skills. Dr. Jean Twenge, a psychologist and author, notes that teens who spend more time on screens are more likely to suffer from attention disorders. Many children who spend less time in face to face interactions will struggle with social cues and empathy, which are crucial components of emotional intelligence. A survey by Common Sense Media also found that only 30% of parents use parental controls on their children's devices. Without these restrictions, it's not hard for children to access inappropriate content and spend excessive time on social media. Now that I've given you all an example of those developmental issues, I want to explore the causes which are behind these problems. One of the biggest problems of our society is beginning to face across cultures is adjusting to a digital landscape. While the advent of social media and the internet offers so many convenient solutions and tools, like all technology can, it is a power which can be used for malicious purposes when put in the wrong hands. The currently tech world is ruled by a monopoly of corporations, and their end goal is to please their investors and extract profit by any means possible, such as hoarding and mining data of thousands of its users, many of whom are under the age of 18. As Tristan Harris, a former Google design ethicist, points out, these platforms have been engineered to be addictive. Our country is currently experiencing this shift, and it will take years before our lawmakers and policies can catch up with the ailments which have come out of the internet. Additionally, the online sphere and its relevance in everyday life is exponentially increasing by each day, and along with it, the more social media platforms, or to put it bluntly, addictions it offers to the common person, especially children. Features like infinite scroll and algorithm-driven content keep children hooked, reducing their ability to self-regulate. While some adults may have the self-restraint to stop themselves from losing a day to scrolling, or they're simply too busy working and providing for their children, those who are barely experiencing puberty certainly are not equipped with the willpower to shut out all of these distractions, especially coupled with the fact that they may feel that they're missing out on important cultural references or experiences that all their peers are talking about at school. Well, after providing these two causes, I will now be discussing potential solutions which we can use to address these issues. One great solution, I believe, which can set limits for teens is parental involvement. Parents can set daily screen time limits and establish some type of device-free zones or times, such as during meals and before bedtime, or having family days in which everyone spends time face-to-face. There are many apps or parental controls, such as Apple Screen Time and Google Family Link, that can be used to monitor and control usage for your children. They're widely available and they're also easy to navigate. Encouraging the use of educational apps and promoting activities that don't involve screens can provide healthy alternatives. Introducing children to healthy hobbies such as reading, sports, or arts and crafts are always a great idea. It also wouldn't hurt to try and show the younger ones in your life a good example by putting your phone down every once in a while and then engaging in some real life activities, such as going outside or even enjoying nature. Let's recap the key points that I've discussed today and emphasize the importance of delaying cell phone usage for young children. After having listened to this, I'm sure that you'll agree that allowing children to have cell phones before 8th grade can have detrimental effects on their development, mental health, and social skills. Be sure to be there for your teen cousins or siblings during these tough times. There's developmental issues arising from early cell phone usage, lack of regulation from corporate influence. However, there are still practical solutions available, such as parental intervention and a healthy lifestyle change to help reduce screen time. Next time you see a young child with a smartphone, think about the long-term impacts on their well-being. By delaying a cell phone use until at least 8th grade, we can help ensure that they develop into healthy, well-adjusted adults. Let's make mindful choices for the sake of our children's future. Thank you for listening.